Vernon Osborne served as a flight officer during World War II from 1942 to 1945. He flew a B-24 aircraft. Thank you for coming. You may decline to answer any questions you are not comfortable with, and if at any point you want us to stop recording, please let us know. During World War II, what branch of service did you serve in?
Air Force.
What was your rank?
I ended up being a flight officer.
Where did you serve?
Now, I didn't go overseas. You want to hear the story?
Yes, please.
Okay. When I finished my training, and I flew B-24s, there was two bombers back then, main ones, the B-17 and the B-24. And I flew the B-24. And when I finished my advanced training, they gave us 10-day furlough to go home see our folks. And when I left, I was on shipment to go overseas in the South Pacific. So I was scheduled to go to Santa Ana, California, and crew up and go to the South Pacific. Well, when I got back to the base from a furlough, they informed us that some of us had been taken off of shipment, and we were scheduled to go to Harlingen, Texas for instructors. So I went there, and what we did at Harlingen, Texas, we were instructors in flying, but also we had gunners that did their practice supposedly before they went to war. And so what we did is we flew over the Gulf of Mexico from Harlingen. It's real close. And we had P-63s, that was the fighter planes. They'd make passes on us, and they was shooting a frangible bullet, which means if they hit, it didn't penetrate, but it'd register. They'd know they had a hit. And the typical, we would stay up normally 5 hours, and the typical time during that 5 hours, most of those gunners would go through those 5 hours and not have a hit. And they was to get in 25 hours to supposedly would be completing of the course. And the sad part about this was some of those young fellas, like myself, of course, at that time, they would go through that course and not have one hit chalked up to their record. And I noticed that we had a lot of turnover. And so I checked with my commanding officer one day, and I said, "Sir, why are we sending some of these young guys, sending them on into the war zones when they finish this course and don't have a hit?" He said, "Listen, mister, when they call for men, we send them warm bodies." And I thought that was one of the saddest things about war. We were sending those guys over there not prepared to do what they were supposed to do. But this is what I spent the duration of the war was as an instructor and flying over the Gulf there. That was my main duty.
Tell me a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Well, the first experience was when I was in basic training. We was flying BT-13s, It was a basic trainer plane, and the first time my most exciting experience was when we went to high altitude, and my instructor put the plane in a tailspin, and coming down in a tailspin, and then kicking the rudder and so on to come out level. That was one of the most exciting times as far as flying. That I wanted, really, and most pilots did at that time, I wanted to fly the fighter planes, but they needed, at that point, they needed people to stay at what I was flying, which was the bomber, the B-24. They wanted us to go, of course, to Harlington, Texas, and fill the rest of our time there. So I was disappointed, I can tell you that. I was really excited about going to Santa Ana, California, and crew up and go to the South Pacific, but I guess my mama's prayers were answered. I don't know. That's what I think anyway, because I didn't go overseas. And I told you that when you called and wanted me to interview. I said, now if you're looking for somebody that was overseas, well, I didn't go. I wanted to bad, but I didn't.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
No.
What kind of supplies did you need?
Well, you mean every day in my duty? I just pick up a flight seat with an air chute. I had a parachute packed in my seat, so in case we needed to. That was the biggest thing every day, and we'd go up for 5 hours. We usually stay up 5 hours every day. And
tell me about your close friendships you had while you were.
well, I had a lot of friends, of course, and just very enjoyable. Yeah, enjoyable to meet new people from different states, and it was, yeah. I made a lot of friends.
Do you continue any of those relationships?
No, not now. It's been too long for me. I don't have any that I can say that I actually was flying with at that time.
Did you join a veterans organization?
Did I what now?
Did you join a veterans organization? No, I didn't. I was in the Guards, I guess, for a while when I first came out. I'm from Kentucky originally, and I was in the Guards. So, but I dropped out. I didn't stay because my pursuit was coaching and teaching, and so I spent my time in that area.
What did you teach?
Taught biology. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to go back for a minute before you begin, if you don't mind my interrupting. Earlier you were talking about how your commander had said that you were sending all these pilots over who didn't have the hits because they needed the bodies.
No, these were gunners.
Gunners.
Those gunners, we were flying out over the Gulf and they were practicing.
Right.
That's what it was. They needed these gunners because there was a bunch of them, a lot more gunners there was pilots. Of course, on a B-24 you had 4 different stations. Mm-hmm. You had tail gunners, you had waist gunners, and you had turrets on the sides. So you had a lot of different positions there for those guys.
Did they just have such a shortage of manpower? That's
what it was. Yeah, because see, that's like say when I said something to my head officer, that's just what he said. He said we have to send them people.
And I said, sir, they're not ready to go. He said, doesn't matter, they're going. So that's war. That's what I say, that's a sad part about war.
I wonder if combat experience helped them. I wonder if some of them learned to get
Oh, gosh,
good.
yeah. I'd say you're right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that before I forgot.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general?
No, I just felt like at that time it was what the country needed to do, and like I say, when my orders was changed, I was disappointed because I wanted to continue what they trained us to do, and so I didn't get to do it. Of course, I enjoyed what I was doing, but I always hated that I didn't get to go on and do what they originally had signed, what I was signed to.
What do you recall about the day your service ended?
Well, I guess I'd have to say I was kind of glad. I was ready to get out because what I was doing wasn't what I really wanted to do, and so when the war ended, well, I was ready to get out.
Where were you when you were discharged?
Where I spent most of my time flying, I was in Harlington, Texas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good question. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Well, I just tell you, and you go through the rigorous training that we went through, it makes you, I'd like to say, it makes you a man. I mean, you just learn things that sometimes we think are simple things, and yet they're very, very important things, like discipline, how to handle discipline. Going through the cadet life, Ian, was a real experience. You learn. Well, the biggest thing, I suppose, would be discipline, because underclassmen, when you go in as an underclassman, the upperclassman has the possibility of giving you a hard time. They can make you do things just to see if you can handle discipline. I mean, like, for example, one of the first things aviation cadet, and that's what we were called, first thing he did was, one of them was make me come over to his room and shine his shoes, you know, do things like this. And they can do that because they're upperclassmen. Now, when I got to be an upperclassman, I didn't like that. I never done that. But now a lot of kids, they enjoyed that, you know. And I look back on it, see, and I think, well, yeah, it was good. It was good for me to realize that. And even though you felt like you didn't really want to do that, you know, but yes, you would. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything that someone you know or something you said that really meant something to you?
Well, I just like to say, when I was talking to my superior officer, when I was telling him that I didn't understand how we were sending some of these guys overseas in the war zone and them not prepared. I didn't like that. I could see there where one of the fallacies of war, as far as people's lives involved.
I had a little incident you might be interested in that happened to me in my training. We had on Saturday we had inspection day, and everything had to be top shape. And when we'd stand inspection, we had to bring our rifles up and bring the bolt back, and then close them, bring them down. I couldn't find a token. Everybody was using a token to hold that clip down so that bolt would work properly. So I finally ended up using a penny. Worked just as good. The only trouble was the officer that was came by to check me, he said, "Mister." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What's the date on that penny?" Oh, I thought, you don't want to be wrong. See, you don't want to be wrong in the service. And I was just pretty sure it's 1942 penny that I used, but I was afraid it'd be wrong. And I said, "Oh, no, sir." He said, "Mister, you're not on the ball, are you?" I said, "No, sir." Interesting.
Do you know what year it was? Did you find out later?
Yeah, it's a 1942 penny. but I was afraid I was wrong, Ian. If you're wrong, boy, they really give you a hard time. Better be right.
Is there anything that you would like to add to this interview that we haven't covered?
No, I just wanted to kind of do whatever you want me to questions you answer or whatever. I enjoyed flying. I really did. I was after I was at Alcoa my second year, I believe, teaching at Alcoa and coaching. I had an opportunity to go with the airlines, and I had a good friend from Memphis call me and said, "Vernon, you need to come on." It's Capital Airlines was the name of it. "You need to come on and go. They're looking for pilots." And I had a little hard time with that because it paid so much better than teaching. And I prayed about it. I had a hard time with it. My wife, she kind of, with the money, difference in the pay, why it'd have been a good increase. But I'd be away from home a lot in flying for the commercial airlines. And I love young people. I realized after a couple of years there, I really wanted to be around young people. So I backed off and said I wasn't interested. But so I think I made the right choice. I really do.
Well, thank you for coming and letting me interview you, and thank you for your service to our country.
Okay. Thank you for having me.